welcome to tear a little bit yourself as well.
How long does it wear?
You wear it for this for the rest of your life. You wear it for the 7 days of Shiva. Some people choose to wear the ribbon for the first 30 days.
So you take that off and put on the floor and go with your stuff?
Right, you don't wear it on Shiva. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Throughout it all, we still praise God's name. Amen. You're welcome.
Can you see what this is?
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you. Friends, we've gathered together, family, friends, and a caring community, to honor the life and mourn the death of Anna Bliss, Chana Miriam bat Abraham v'Sarah, Zichrona Livracha, may her memory ever be a blessing. Beloved wife of Arthur, cherished mother of Ruby and Chuck, Ellen and Mark, Jerry and Karen, loving grandmother of Ashley, Zachary, and his wife Brittany, Rochelle and her husband Gregory, Joshua, Maxwell, Benjamin, and Rachel, and adoring great-grandmother of Cole, Lauren, Morgan, Gabriel, Aubrey, and Blake, devoted cousin of Donna Lambert, dear sister-in-law to Robert and Esther, and a friend to so many in our community. The Jewish preacher and teacher Kohelet, who some identify as King Solomon, wrote words some 2,000 years ago that resonate with us here in the 21st century. He wrote, "A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven. A time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated one, filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Anne's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. Esa einai el harim, me'ayin yavo, yavo Ezri, Ezri me'im Adonai, Osei shamayim v'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the mountain tops and ask, oh, what is the source of my help? My help, it comes from God above, who makes the heavens and the earth. Al yitein lamot raglecha, al yanum shomerecha. Hine lo yanum velo guardian of Israel, stands at your side. Our God neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai shomerecha, Adonai shomerecha, Adonai tzilcha yad yaminecha, Yomam hashemesh lo yakecha, ve'yareach ba'layla. Adonai yishmorcha, yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. God guards you from harm. God will watch over you for all time. Adonai yishmor tzeitcha, yishmor tzeitcha u'goecha, me'ata ve'ad olam, me'ata ve'ad olam, ve'ad olam. We traditionally look to the book of Psalms for words of comfort, consolation, and strength. These beautiful poems can help to anchor us in our most difficult times. Perhaps the most beloved of these is the 23rd Psalm, attributed as having been written by King David, who led a tumultuous life marked by tremendous highs and debilitating lows. Throughout his life, however, he maintained an unshakable faith in God, which is expressed eloquently in this poem. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, b'ne'odeshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleini, nafshi shovev, yancheni b'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech begeitz ha'movet, lo ira ra, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yinachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai, dishanta b'Hashem en roshi, kosi rivaya, ach tov ha'chesed yedefuni, kol yimei chayai, Vishavti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley overshadowed by death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in your house forever. One of the greatest honors we can bestow on a loved one who has passed on is to remember her or him through words of tribute. And who better to offer those words than members of Anne's family? And so I'd like to call on Anne's grandchildren to come up this time to share their thoughts with us.
Daddy, give me strength. Let me get through this. Let us get through this. Okay. Try my best. For 33 years, I have been blessed beyond belief with a best friend, a second mom, who I called my mama. Growing up so close, 2 miles away, my parents taught us early the importance of family. We were always with my grandparents. In the summer, we basically lived there. It was our second home. My childhood was filled with so many wonderful, happy memories. Once Josh and I got old enough, the traveling began. It was the 4 of us. The list of places we traveled is long, but the memories are longer, and they will last a lifetime. Then my little cousins came into the mix. I was 7 when Max was born, 12 when Ben was born, 15 when Rachel was born. The summers at the beach house got that much better. Ashley, Zach, and all 7 of us all together. Every weekend was a sleepover. My mama was in her glory, constantly making trips to ShopRite, having that refrigerator and freezer stocked with everything we wanted, everything we could imagine. When we went to the beach, we were packed up, enough for days, but there was no telling her otherwise. We don't need that, just that's fine. We just put it in the Bliss buggy that my uncle made, and we went. Because of my mom and pop-up's house, my aunt and uncle became my extra mom and dad. My cousins turned into my brothers and my sister. For that, I will ever be thankful. Come on, buddy. Mama was our biggest cheerleader. She made sure we knew it. She never missed an event, too big or small. They were all big to her. She loved to brag about everyone. When I would call her, she would tell me about everybody else. She would tell me about, Aunt Esther's family. She would tell me about everybody. We just knew we were intertwined. We shared true quality time together. That I was thankful. I was grateful and truly blessed. Now for the last 8 years, she wasn't just our mama. She was promoted to my children, Cole, Lauren, and Morgan. She was their bubby. Our relationship grew stronger. It grew deeper. She's given me the strength right now. She was in all of them. She told everyone she was a bubby. They had bubby wrapped around their fingers and could do no wrong. She used to tell me, don't yell. Don't yell. They're going to be strong-willed. They're stubborn. They're going to have that Bliss strength. It was a special bond that can never be matched or forgotten. She loved my husband. She would call him. And I don't know many grandparents that would just call, but that was her. She made it a point to include my husband in everything we did. One, she wanted to make sure I was cooking enough for him. Because she would call him her giant. She never knew somebody to be so tall. But most importantly, she called him to thank him. And every time we saw her, she would just say, thank you, Greg, for her angels and for making her a bubby. We could stand up here today, all day, and speak about our influential mama. But that wouldn't be enough. She was one of a kind. And I can't believe I'm standing here in front of you all today. My heart, our heart, it's shattered. My soul, our soul, it's crushed. I'm emotionally drained, and we're emotionally drained and mentally tasked. But I know she's given me the strength to get through this. A week ago today, my family's world turned upside down. The matriarch of our family started to fight for her life. The strongest, most determined woman I know and we know. But she didn't back down. When this journey began, I wondered, why her? Why now at 84 years old? I was scared, I was worried, and I was nervous, but was constantly reminded from her that she was strong, resilient, she had the courage, and she was going to drive forward, because she always loved to drive, and fight this cancer head on, and that God was with her. And that's what she did. She beat it. You can never prepare yourself for a day like this. And I'll be honest, I never thought this day would come. But as I stand in front of you all today, it shows us how loved, how impactful my mama was. Today we honor an incredible wife, a mother, a mama, and a puppy. Buddy, I promise to make you proud always, to carry your legacy, to get the family together, to keep my angels safe, keep them loved, be a good wife. The sky is finally open, and God called you to be with Him, to cook with them, to keep us all safe. Use to sing it to all of us, even my kids. You are our sunshine, our only sunshine. You make us happy when the skies are gray. Now you are my sunshine, our sunshine. Where we go, you'll go. You're our angel. You're going to be a strong angel until we meet again. I love you, mommy, and we love you. Thank you.
Each one of my cousins, aunts, uncles, and dearest sister have different memories spent with Mama. But collectively, all of these memories will be cherished forever. Getting ready to go out to Gino's at the corner, or even to Tony's Baltimore's Grill in AC, she would ask me, how do I look? As if she didn't look fabulous all the time. She could look sharp with any outfit she wore. Other times at 14 South Martindale, if I were simply taking a nap, but there was no taking naps with her, upstairs in that huge house, or doing something constructive, like helping put away the beach equipment into the garage after the long beach day, and she was starting to throw some steaks or hot dogs on the grill for dinner, and when she needed the slightest assistance with anything or at any time, simply needing a hand with unloading her packed gray Nissan Maxima with ShopRite groceries, or she would call me from inside while I was outside sunbathing or on the upper deck of the garage. She was asking me simply, with her arthritic hands, she couldn't hook her bra behind her. So she would ask me to, Joshua, come on and hook my bra for me. She would belt my name loud and proud. She emphasized the last two letters of my full name, like nowhere else. I can't. She was the only one that could do that. Yeah, she would say my name, Joshua, and then everybody would turn their head. It was never just Josh, it was always Joshua. Can you help me with this or that? I can still hear her say that today, and I'll never forget that. My cousins knew whenever they heard that call, Mama needed some help with groceries or bringing up the laundry basket from the basement. She would always take me under her wings and show me love. And even when I built up the courage, built up the courage to say to her that I was different from her other grandchildren, she could easily shut me out and not had a relationship with her grandson any longer. Instead, she said to me, "You will always be my Joshua." And then even though my fiance only knew her for this short amount of time, this year, I am forever grateful he had a chance to get to know her. He referred to her as Lady Bliss of Ventnor. She had a lasting impact on everyone she met in her life, and her legacy, strength, valor, her wittiness, her persistence, her determination, humor, dedication will forever live within each of us.
I've heard many tributes, but I never heard one that referenced a grandmother's brassiere. That is a first. And now I'd like to invite Ruby to come up and share her thoughts with us.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. It's very important. So, say a prayer as I get through this. God tells us in the book of Jeremiah, verse 5, "Before you formed me in the womb, you knew me. Before I was born, you set me apart." I believe this to be true of each of us here today. And of course, for my mother. When we think about her and her life, we know that he certainly set her apart. Anybody that knew her. So last night I was thinking about my mom and her life, and I began thinking about what a huge net she cast during her lifetime. I closed my eyes and I could see her standing on the shores of each of our lives, ready to cast out that net, which was sewn together with ropes of determination, fearlessness, strength, and love. And I wanted to share some of the thoughts I had. First, her strength. It's no secret that anyone that knew my mom, she seemed larger than life, and we would never have been here. To me, it just seemed that she would beat death. So, when I was with her, sometimes I would feel small and inadequate. she was such a force. She had so much energy. When she was in the room, you felt it. Even if you didn't know her, you would say, like, who is this lady? She never hid her light under a bushel. That was for sure. Anyway, I was thinking about that last night and how her bright light and unapologetic energy impacted my life. And I began to wonder if she ever knew just how much it motivated me to be better, to try a bit harder, and to dig a bit deeper, which is what I'm trying to do now. I wonder if she knew that much of my strength that I have in overcoming my trials and my adversities was gifted to me when she threw out that net of strength and pulled me away from defeat. Her unmatched determination. My mother was one of the most determined people I have ever known. She would not be denied. You can ask my dad. Where the mind goes, the body follows. The mind is the battlefield. That was something that she lived by. And I'm here to tell you that when my mom set her mind to something, that was it. The battle was won. And like the ancient Stoics, she got up every single day of her life, determined to push forward to her personal goals. And that net of determination gathered many accomplishments in her life. Not only for herself, but most of us here today. Her fearlessness. Until the moment she took her last breath, she was fearless. I mean, we all have times when we have fear in our life, and I'm sure my mom was no exception. But what set her apart was that any fear she had was crushed by her strong convictions, her unwavering belief in herself and her ability. Fear was no match for Ann Bliss. She never allowed us to be afraid either. It wasn't allowed. She would cast out that net of fearlessness and gather us up forward to victory. We would march on. Her love. To all moms here today, we all know that love between a mother and a child can at times be complicated, difficult. It can take us into deep, uncharted waters. My mom and I certainly swam in those waters for a time. But I would like to think as we both grew older, our love grew deeper, and she would toss out her love net as far as she could and as often as she had to pull me to safety. This net probably brought in the biggest haul of all. Look around. Love is strong and covers a lot. My mom knew that. She really was one of a kind, wasn't she? And we are so blessed to have been part of her life. And I know that we are all so broken. And we feel lost. And our hearts are so escort my mom to her resting place. My sincere prayer for each of us is that we would all find comfort in knowing that as we continue to live our lives here on earth without her, we will honor her and allow her, well, you young guys out there, to live on through you, through your strength, through your determination, and through your fearlessness. And through all of our love. And if we close our eyes and be still, we will see Anne. We will see Mom. We will see Mama. And we will see Bubby. She's right here. She's still on the shores of our lives with that net in her hand. We know that, don't we? She's waiting for the perfect time to cast it out. Be strong. Don't be afraid. Be fearless. Be loving. Be kind. God bless all of us. And God bless my mother, who really was one of a kind. She was the only one who could. She was the only person that could walk in a room and call someone an asshole. And it was charming. It was like, how does that happen? How does that happen? So my heart is broken, but my heart is full because I'm her daughter. And that will never change. That will never change. And any strength and courage and moxie that I have is because of her. God bless each of us and God bless my mom. Thank you.
So now I've heard two words I have not heard before at a funeral. There's a beautiful saying in our tradition, Dvarim sheyotzim min halev nichnasim el halev, words which come from the heart enter the heart. And so I thank you for sharing your heartfelt thoughts about a person who so obviously meant so much to you. This week, we're going to begin reading the second book of the Torah, Shmot in Hebrew, Exodus in English. The first several portions in the book of Exodus describe the enslavement of our ancestors in ancient Egypt. As you're well aware, we memorialize those terrible years through our commemoration of the holiday of Passover, and we relive the Israelites' experience through the readings and rituals of the Seder. How is it that our ancestors came to be enslaved? Well, following the death of Joseph, the Israelite who single-handedly saved the Egyptian nation from death by starvation during the 7 years of famine which Pharaoh had dreamt about and which Joseph had correctly interpreted, we learn that Vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. In other words, there was no institutional memory of what Joseph had done for the benefit of the Egyptians. Without that memory, without that appreciation, Joseph's people, the Israelites, were perceived as a threat and were subsequently enslaved to neutralize any imagined revolt they might have contemplated. You're probably wondering, Well, that's interesting, but what does that have to do with Anne? Trust me, I'll get to that soon enough. To describe Anne as unique would be to do her a disservice, because she was far more than the sum of her individual parts. Her family described her through a lengthy list of adjectives, many of which you've already heard. She was a force, determined, focused, charitable, gracious, welcoming, passionate, inspirational, persistent, fearless. I could go on, but I think you get the idea. Anne grew up in Luray, Virginia, an impoverished rural community in the Shenandoah Valley. Her beginnings were humble, but her spirit was indomitable. And she made a life for herself and her family that belied those early years. When Anne met Arthur and learned that he was Jewish, she made a commitment to herself that she would convert to Judaism so that she could raise their children in the Jewish faith. Unbeknownst to Arthur, she studied 2 evenings a week for 5 years to gain the knowledge needed to convert. This is just one of innumerable examples of one of Anne's greatest traits, determination. Once she set a goal for herself, she saw it through to completion. Her goals and accomplishments were many. She raised 3 terrific children. She began what became an extremely successful business in Ventnor. She dedicated time and energy to 2 synagogues, Congregation Olam Tikva in Virginia, of which she and Arthur were charter members, and Congregation Bethel in Margate. She was active in Hadassah and more. More than her accomplishments, which were many, more than the adjectives describing her, which are numerous, more important than all of that is the person she was. As Jerry said, and as you've already heard a few times, she was a force. Once you met Anne, you never forgot her because she was such a strong presence. Which brings me back to the bit of Torah I shared a few moments ago. Our ancestors were enslaved because Joseph was forgotten. The new Pharaoh had no knowledge of Joseph and seemingly didn't care to. And because of that memory lapse, we suffered. Contrast that to the following. There has been no repeat of the Holocaust, thank God, because we say, never forget. We relive our history regularly through our observance of Jewish holidays throughout the year. We remember our loved ones at least 5 times a year, on the Yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, and during the 4 holidays when we recite Yizkor memorial prayers. Remembering is so important, but I dare say it's not enough. Yes, our loved ones live on within us through the memories we have, but there's more. If we can be more like the person we've lost, then we truly bring that person to life. As you heard, Anne was charitable. How about you? By being charitable, you honor her memory. As you heard, Anne was passionate about those things she believed in so strongly. What about you? By being passionate in your beliefs, you will emulate a character trait that personifies what she was all about. As you heard, Anne was determined. She set a goal and worked tirelessly to accomplish it. What about you? By being determined, you validate an important part of Anne's persona. Anne accomplished great things in her lifetime, but as Arthur told me, she left this world because God called her. Anne said, I've got work to do, and God needs me. And those were, in fact, her final words. Words she spoke in the presence of her family just before she passed on. And if you think about it, those final words were, "So, Anne, there's more work to be done, more goals to be met." As Ruby said, she always looked forward, never backwards. What a wonderful example she set for us all. Our goal should be to be more like Anne. God knows our world would be a better place for it. Tehi nishmatat tzrura b'tzrua hachayim. May the soul of Anna Bliss be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May she rest in peace as we together say, Amen. I'll ask you to please stand now for the recitation of Amalei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. Amalei Rachamim, shochet b'meromim, hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina, b'ma'alot kedoshim u'tehorim, kizohar haraki amazhirim, et nishmat Chana Miriam bat Abraham v'Sara shehalacha le'olama, v'gan eiten tehei menuchata, Ona ba'al harachamim, astireha b'seiter kenafecha le'olamim, u'tziror b'tziror hachayim et nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkacha, v'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Anna Bliss, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May Anne rest in peace, as we together say, Amen. You're welcome to be seated. I want to acknowledge the presence this morning of my colleagues, Chazana Lisa Pomerantz-Barrow and Rabbi Aaron Krupnick of Congregation Bethel in Voorhees. Immediately following interment at King David Cemetery, the family will be returning to Jerry and Karen's home, 1025 Bob White Drive in Cherry Hill, where they will observe Shiva for the balance of today with a Shiva Minyan service this evening. And the family has requested that contributions in Anne's memory be directed to Hadassah.
Will the pallbearers please step to the center aisle? And I'll ask if we can rise once more, please.
David said to Elion, but Sel Shaddai Lonan, Omar Ladonai Maxim Surati Elohaya Tapo, Kuyasel Hamipap Yakush, Itever Avot, Ever Tel Yasef Lach, the Tachet Pinafa Tetset, Sina the Sochera Amito, Lo Tirami Tachat Laila, Mekin Yabut Yomami, Dever Bapoka Yahalo, Miketem Yashut Soharai. Yipol mitzit ha'elef urvava miminecho elecha lo yigash rak einecha tabit v'shilumat risha'im tir'eh ki ata Adonai machsi elyon